Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing the post-release video of Jingliu. Since it has been around a week or so since her release, I've been mainly playing with her throughout that whole 1 week to see how overall I feel about her as a character, and I have to say I am very impressed by how good they made her out to be. So as always, I talk about the pros and the cons, and then talk about my overall opinion about her. First, let's get into the pros. The first pro that she has is that she has multiple good buffs, and what I mean by that comes in the terms of her kit in regards to her talent. A majority of the buffs she gets comes from the talent where she enters a state called the Spectral Transmigration state, where when she activates this state, she gets a second turn immediately and increases her crit rate by 50%, while on top of that getting an attack bonus based on the consumption of some of her teammates' HP by around 4%, which will give her a pretty good chunk of attack. And that's 3 buffs that happens in one turn, which is very good as a DPS character. Another thing that's really good about her is that she gets crit damage, which is a stat that you want to prioritize in terms of her substat when farming for her relics. Another good stat that she also gets is speed, because speed is very nice in terms of getting her to consistently take turns in terms of getting stacks, because in order to get the talent buff is by getting a total of 2 stacks of synergy, and the way you get those stacks is by using the normal version of your skill and also gaining one from using your ultimate. Now there's a couple of ways where like this can be difficult or kind of makes it a little bit more slower in terms of getting those stacks, where I will cover that in a bit. But yeah, whenever you get those stacks, you get a lot of good buffs that happens just in an instant, where the traditional buff where you build up buffs as you take more turns, but this one just gives you like 3 buffs in like 1 turn, which is very good compared to like the other DPS characters I have released in the past. Another pro is that she has pretty good AoE. Now her AoE is kind of basically similar to like Blade and Dan Hung, but I would say her AoE is still pretty good. Another pro about her is that she has a good set which helps her kit in terms of increasing her crit damage, and that set that I'm talking about is the ice damage set. Is the ice damage set Hunter of Glacial Forest. He increases her ice damage by 10%, which is very good. And the 4-piece, whenever she uses her ultimate, her crit damage increases by 25% for 2 turns, which is exactly around the average amount of turns in her buff state in her talent. And usually when it comes in regards of how she enters the buff, it usually happens from using your skill, and then if you have enough energy where you get your ultimate, you usually tend to use your ultimate and then enter the transmigration state, which is very good, because if that were to happen, then this buff will last throughout your entire turn duration when you're in the special transmigration state. The other set that is really good for her kit that you would like to go for in terms of her 2-piece set is the Battalion Arena set. Reason being is because it increases her crit rate, which is kind of not as effective than crit damage, but still very nice. But considering she does get 50, it allows you to hit the 70% crit rate requirement, which allows you to increase her skill damage by 20%, which is very good. So in terms of her sets, the sets that she can use now in the game is very good, unless they were to release a set that increases her damage in terms of defense reduction on enemies, which is basically the quantum set, but if that were to be a nice damage set. But nonetheless, this set is still very good. On top of the sets that she can use, the subsets that you would usually want to farm for is also very good, because it allows you to farm for basically one stat, which is mainly crit damage, or if you would like to make her more speedy, then you can go for more speed, or if you're struggling to get more crit damage, then you can also rely on getting more attack percentage, which is also very good. The next pro that I've seen when playing with her is that her light cone options are actually pretty good. Her signature increases her crit damage and also increases the damage of her next attack, where this is very nice in terms of when she's in her buff state. But also, and this is what they changed I think later on in the beta, before 4.4 beta, before Jingliu release, is that here they added whenever she uses an attack, it ignores 12% of the enemy's defense, which is very good, making this light cone a lot more worth getting. Now in terms of her other options, I would still say Secret Vote is still the best 4-star option for her, because it gives her damage percent and even more damage percent if the enemy is above 50%. But if by chance if you don't have Secret Vote, then you can rely on using Collapsing Sky, because it increases her skill damage by 20%, around the same damage bonus that you get from Secret Vote. But nonetheless, you do lose on a pretty good chunk of base stats compared to using a 4-star light cone. But nonetheless, Collapsing Sky is still a very good option to use. And the last pro that I found when playing with Jingliu is that she's good with a lot of of the most favorite supports to use, like Bronya and Tingwen. I will have to say it kind of depends on like what you prefer. If you would like to prioritize her ultimate, then Tingwen is a favorable option, but if you would like her to take more consistent turns, then I would definitely recommend using Bronya instead. However, there is a third option in the future that could be a very good option to use with Jingliu, and that character that I'm talking about is Henya. And what I mean in terms of her is that she has the potential of increasing her speed as well as attack, while also at the same time increasing her damage overall, which lasts the same amount of time her buffs they last. Now this is still very early in terms of information, but as of right now it seems very likely she's gonna be her second best support compared to using Tingwen, because she basically increases speed, attack, and damage percent, where Tingwen only gives her energy, which is still very good, but the only other buff she gets is giving her more attack. But again, we will have to wait and see in terms of that. Alright, now moving on to her cons. Now the thing is, I don't really see a lot of cons with her, considering that she does get a lot of good buffs, making her very strong. The only cons I really see with Jingliu is that most of the damage comes from one target and some to others, where again is very similar to like other DPS characters that have released. But in my opinion, I feel like it would have been a lot more better if they were to have the equal amount of damage spread to all enemies, instead of most of that damage migrated into one single enemy and some of that damage to other enemies adjacent to it. Then I would think she will be a lot better, but nonetheless it's still very good regardless. And the last con that I see with Jingliu is that she can't be slow in terms of getting her into her enhanced state in regards of building stacks for her, because considering that in order to get stacks is by using her skill and ultimate, if you're not using supports with her that allows her to utilize her skill or ultimate more consistent, like Tingwen for her ultimate and Bronya for her skill, and if you don't have around 135 speed from your relics, then she can be slow in terms of getting to her enhanced state. But if you manage to get a lot of speed stats from your relics and you don't have Bronya or Tingwen, then she can still be very fine without them. But if you do have them, then I highly recommend you use them with Jingliu, because they could definitely make Jingliu more consistent. And yeah, and lastly, my overall opinion with her, I think she is a very good DPS character. She has a lot of good buffs that increases her attack, advanced forwardness whenever she enters the enhanced state, gives her 50% crit rate, which is wild, and also very good stats from her traces like crit damage and speed, and a lot of good set options in terms of her relics. So overall, she is like, I would say, if not one of the top 3 DPS characters in Honkai Star Rail, and I will highly recommend in pulling her, considering like the type of buffs really helps you not only increase her damage, but also helps you in terms of building her more easily, because it allows you to focus on one stat or even other stats. But yeah, overall she's very good. I would definitely recommend pulling her. A lot of great buffs, very easy to build, and overall a very good DPS character. And that's gonna be it for my post-release of Jingliu. Let me know in the comments below if you guys love Jingliu as much as I do. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, then definitely subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video to support it. Check out my Twitch, the link will be in the description below if you want to catch all my live streams. And also, if you are interested in being part of my Rate My Character Jingliu edition, I will include the link to the Google form in the description below. Just for the post-release, I will keep it open for a couple more days, just in case if you are interested in being part of one of my future videos in regards of looking at your builds revolving around Jingliu. Then I will leave the link to the Google form in the description below, or the top comment in the comment section down below. That's it for today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.